I'm taking back where Chaf Aleph.
Chaf Ham Beis, yeah, all the way to Bar Chaf Ham Beis. Makes changes everything. Yeah. B'shlosha prakim b'shari v'sagal kola. 3 times a year you have to check out how many figs or dates fit into your basket, because these things change over the course of the year. Now this refers to Trumas Meiser and Meiser, which are taken off based on measure. Of course, Truma is always taken off by estimate, by guesstimate to be precise, but to be imprecise. But by the other things, they're taken off by measure, so you check out the basket 3 times a year. B'choros, at the beginning of the season, when the fruit is very ripe and full. B'siafos, at the end of the season, when the fruit is shriveled up and small. Uvemtza kites, in the middle of the summer, when the fruit is medium-sized. And always you have to take Trumas and Meisers relative to the size of the fruit and how much fits into the basket and so on and so forth. Hamona Meshubach, somebody who counts the fruit in order to take Trumas Meiser and Trumas Meiser off, that's praiseworthy. V'amoide, somebody who measures volume, Meshubach Himenu, that's even better. Vashokel, somebody who weighs them, Meshubach Mishloshtan, he's more praiseworthy than all 3. Now the question will be, we only just said 2, not 3, right? So how does it get to be 3? More is going to discuss that. Mimi Meshubach, from who is he most praiseworthy? The Shokel, the weigher. Seems like there are only 2 things here. It says Meshubach Mishloshtan, but we only mentioned 2 things previously, a Mona and a Modeh. Some Ravuna said Meshubach Minat Toirem Umad. He's better than a person who takes Trumas and Meisers off by estimate, by guesstimate. Again, you're allowed to take off all Trumas and Meisers by rough estimate. The thing is that regular Truma you must take off by estimate, whereas Meiser Sheni you take off by as precisely as possible. So therefore, to weigh is better than estimating, than counting, and by taking volume. Amar B'chinana Chanina, Brei Rav Hillel, Mastisa Amar Kain. The Brisa says, the Mishnah says this. Vashoka Meshubach. Well, it's a kasha. Sorry. Amar B'chinana Brei Rav Hillel, Mastisa Amar Kain. Does our Mishnah say this? Vashoka Meshubach Mishloishton. Says Meshubach. Oh no, it's a statement. I was right the first time. Amar B'chinana Brei Rav Hillel, Mastisa Amar Kain. Our Mishnah teaches this. It says Vashoka Meshubach Mishloishton. Somebody who counts, somebody who weighs is better than all 3. What is all 3? Must include something not mentioned in our Mishnah. So include somebody who estimates, somebody who counts, and somebody who takes a volume measure. So somebody who weighs is better than the previous 3. Rav China said, no, not necessarily. You can understand our Mishnah differently. Dipater b'shloshton. You can say that our Mishnah means that somebody who weighs is the best among the 3 mentioned. But it's a Shema Min HaKlum, and then you cannot derive anything from our Mishnah. Okay, very fundamental halachas now. Rabbi Lezer says, Truma oila b'echad u'meya. If you have Truma, which gets mixed into Chulin, so it's cancelled if there are, it's batel, if there are 100 Chulin there. Now, it says oila. Why does it say oila? Because you still have to take 1 portion out and give it to the Kohen in order not to steal from the tribe of Kohanim. Okay? So, oila b'echad means you take 1 out, and then the rest are mutter. So, therefore, the shiur of bittul is 100 to 100 apples to 1 of bismavato, an apple of truma. Rabbi Shumer.
This goes for truma that's tummy as well?
Yeah, any truma. Rabbi Shumer b'mei v'od. It has to be 100 plus a little bit. Vod ze'ein lo shiur. This od has no specific shiur. Rabbi Yosef Mishalom Aimer, yes, it does have a specific shiur. V'od kav l'me'aseh, 1 kav per me'aseh, which is shtus l'medameh, which is 1/6 over a saw. So if you have to, it's batel in 100 and a 1/6. Okay, that's so you need 100 apples and a 1/6 of an apple in order to cancel the apple, which is truma. Okay. It should be minayin she'ein olin. How do we know that it doesn't work? Okay, meaning that less than 101. In other words, if it's less than 1 out of 101, it doesn't come out. It's not batel. Now this is all on a smachta, because midaraisa how you mavato truma. Mm-hmm. 1 and 2. Yeah, bata barov. Because min b'mino, it's bata barov. Min b'sheno mino is 160. Well, if it's cooked together or something like that. But here it's 1 and 2. But this is a sort of smachta. Rabbi Yenaksiv, it says mikol chabo, from all of its best, as mikdasho mimenu, that which consecrates it from within it. Meaning, v'tani davar shata meiri mimenu, way we do the Tarsh supposed is something which you take off. In other words, Trumas Meiser, which is 1/100th, which is what you take off of when you make Trumas Meiser. If it falls back into the batch, Mikacho, it's Mikadishit. Bekama, as it says, how much is that? In other words, one Trumas Meiser is 1/100th, right? That's the mimenu which you take up. If it falls back in, it's Mikacho. Rabbi Lezer Mer Mosif Sa'ah Umaleh. Rabbi Lezer says you add on a Sa'ah. In other words, if it's not Mavatul, when it's 1 in 100, in other words, 1 in 100 is bad because it's Mikadishit, so that means a ratio of 99 to 1 is bad. So in order to make it good, says Rabbi Lezer, add 1 on. A ratio of 99 to 1 is bad, a ratio of 100 to 1 is good. Okay, that's Rabbi Lezer's opinion. Mosif Se'ah Uma'aleh, and that makes it come up. Yerushalmi Mosif Koshu Ma'aleh, Yeshua says it doesn't have to be a ratio of 101 to 1, but rather it has to be, in fact, an additional, not a ratio of 100 to 1, but additional something over that. I'm making a mistake. I didn't type this up right in the Mishnah. I didn't make it clear, at least. Rabbi Elazar Shita is that it's 1 in 100. Rabbi Shua Shita is that it's 1 and 100. Rabbi Elazar Shita is that it's 1 and 100. In other words, the total amount, sum total is 101. 1 truma and 100 chulin. Rabbi Yoshua Shita is that it's 1 and 99.1. So it's sum total 100.1. In that it's batel, okay, and that's ein lo shiur, right? The one which holds yesh lo shiur to the extra hold it's 1 and 99 and a sixth, right? Which makes it 100 and a sixth altogether. Okay, so Rabbi Lezer Tanakam is actually the most machmir. Says oil of echol mea means you need 101 altogether. The 1 plus another 100, and that's because he says davar shumak 1 and 99 is mekadishit. That's what we learn after that as smachta. So we need 101. Releza says mosif se'el ma'aleh b'shomer mosif koshu ma'aleh. Even if you have mashu over 99 to 1, in other words 99.1 against 1, that suffices. Rabbi Yosef ben Shulam oimer vod kavla meya. So vod kavla meya so shlusum dameya. A kav or on over 100, meaning 99 and a sixth, which is the sixth over limitameya. That's the shear in which it's no longer midameya. But Allah Kvarov and Allah is like him. Even though it says Allah Kvarov, we do not paskin like him. We pass like Rabbi Lezer that the shear is 1 in 101. Okay, 1 to 100. Okay, next Mishnah. Rabbi Shomer Ta'enim Shcheres, black. Now this is amazing halacha. We're gonna have a series of very basic machloeksim here. Rabbi Shomer Ta'enim Shcheres. If you have black dates, black figs, they're malos esalavanos. They are mevata white figs. In other words, you know that the truma felon is a white fig. And you have, let's say, 50 white figs and 50 black figs. The black figs join in being mitzdaref in order to be mavato the white fig, which was the truma, which is obviously a very big kula, right? And we're going to discuss it. Igule dvela, where you have round pressed dates, and you have a number of them, one of which is truma. We don't know which one. Hagdoilim balim besaktaim, so you can join them all together regardless of size in order to comprise 100. If they're small, the small ones help for the big ones. The big ones and the small ones, the big ones help for the small ones, and the small ones help for the big ones. Even if they're different shapes, some are round and some are brick-like. They all join together to make up the shear of 100. Just like the round ones do the bricks, so too the brick ones do the round ones. Rabbi Lezer says that does not work. Rabbi Kiva says, when you knew what fell in. In malo zu, it doesn't work. They cannot support each other because then they're just too different. If you don't know if the one film is white or black or square or round and so on and so forth, then malo zu, then they can all be included in the count. What? Rebbe Lezer disagrees with every halacha up till on the Mishnah, right? Okay, Ketzad. How so? Chamishim teinim shchoros. You have 50 black figs. Chamishim v'amos 50 white figs. Nofla shchera. A black one fills in. Shchora asura. This is according to Rabbi Akiva, right? Shchora is aser, valvonos mutaros. The black one is aser, but the white ones are mutar because there's no tzichuf. Nofla levana, if a white one fills in, levanos asuros. The white ones are aser, v'shchoros mutaros. B'shein yodum anofla. If you don't know what fell in, malo zu, then malo each other. Bezu in this case, Rabbi Eliezer machmir, Rabbi Eliezer aser is right, and Rabbi Yeshua's maker. Yeshua says that the white ones are malo, the black ones, and vice versa. Rabbi Yeshua is the author at the beginning of the Mishnah, right, where you said that they are malo each other. This case, Rabbi Eliezer's machmir, and Rabbi Yeshua. We'll see if the Gemara discusses that. Uvizu, and the following case are Rabbi Eliezer Mekel and Rabbi Shua's Machmir. What's that case? It's a very famous case. It's in the Bavli in Psa in Beitza. You press a measure of dates on top of a pot, a barrel in your storehouse. You don't know which top of the barrel you pressed it on. Rabbi Eliezer says, even though there's no inherent mixture within each barrel, you look at each barrel separately, and if there is 100 to 1 in the barrel's volume, that's sufficient to create a permissibility. Am I making that clear?
What exactly is the halacha?
You imagine to yourself a room which has 100 barrels of figs or dates, right? 100 barrels. And you press some truma dates on top of one of those barrels. They're all full of dried figs. You press your truma day figs on top of one of those barrels. You don't remember which one now. So if you take into account all the tops of the barrels in the room, it won't be bato, because there are only 100 barrel tops. Not enough. You're missing one. If you take into account, however, the barrel itself, and you look at the barrel up and down, then the bottom of the barrel has more than enough figs to be mevatel the top of the barrel. How do I look at this situation? That's Gemara's question. Do I look at it as if I look at all the tops of the barrels, or do I look even at, which would be litul chumrah, or I look inside the barrel internally, despite the fact that that's a charade because there's no mixing together which is going on. Okay, so here we have machlokas. You look at each one independently. Vatachtonos mausas the owners, and the stuff on the bottom does fix the stuff on top. Rabbi Shua says it doesn't work at less than 100 barrels because they don't look at the barrels independently, but rather as one conglomerate entity, all the tops, right? All the tops, okay, separate from the rest of the barrel. All right, let's do the Gemara now. Ravisi, by the way, I did not follow the Kavanoki on this, because he divides up this mission into 3 separate segments, and I think here actually that would be very bad to follow his setup. Okay, so I'm a liberal kind of guy. Ravisi b'shem Rabbi Yochanan. Ravisi said name Rabbi Yochanan. You washed the pizza.
Everybody in my family.
Oh, you could tell them I said you're going to get special olam haba for that.
I did the same thing last week in New York with my daughter.
You need 2 pieces, right? Over and above.
Ravisi b'shem Rabbi Yochanan. In New York, they're big pieces too. I don't know. My memory is that Chicago's pieces are smaller, but they're big. I don't know. All right, let's not get started on that. Ravisi b'shem Rabbi Yochanan. Time with Rabbi Eliezer. The logic of Rabbi Eliezer is Te'enim shcheros shenoflu l'toch levanos. Now Rabbi Eliezer is the one who says that it's author. He doesn't let you use white ones to be mevatel black ones and vice versa. He says Te'enim shcheros shenoflu l'toch levanos. If black truma falls into white, ochos levanos. You eat the white ones, not the black ones. Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer said, Kachi Rabbi Eliezer, Meshiv Rabbi Yeshua. And this is how Rabbi Eliezer, who was Machmir, would respond to Rabbi Yeshua. Valavanos malos is hashchayros. You're going to have the white ones work on the black ones? How can that work? Doesn't work. He doesn't understand Rabbi Shula's whole perspective. So we'll say, Amara. From this we can deduce, these words indicate to us literally, that according to Rabbi Yeshua, Biyadua man nofla malo zuazu. If Rabbi Lezer said, how can you possibly say it works? You must say Yeshua knows it works. Rabbi Yeshua says, even though we know that the truma which fell in was black, we're mitzayef the white ones in order to cancel it and vice versa. Okay? Rav Kana mar ein malos. Rav Kana says no. Even though Rabbi Yeshua, it only works if you don't know what fell in. If you know what fell in, it doesn't cancel. Says more, I'll die to Kana. According to Rav Kahana, Ma ben Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Akiva. What's in between Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Akiva? Hey, Rabbi Akiva is the one who said the same thing. Then he said, if you don't know, then you can be mitzvah if the white ones and black ones together. If you do know, you can be mitzvah. That's Rabbi Lezer saying the same thing according to Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Akiva saying the same thing. So says the Gemara, I'll tell you what the nafkamina is. It's a wild one, but this is nafkamina. B'yodav v'shachach. He knew, but he forgot. When it fell, he knew, and then he had amnesia. I'll die to Rabbi Yeshua. So according to Rabbi Yeshua, since now he forgot, it's mala. I'll die to Rabbi Akiva. Ain't no mala since at one time you knew it doesn't. You can't be mitzvah of them. Rabbi Shema, Rabbi Yochanan said, "Fushanofla." When does now we're going to explain Rabbi Yeshua. Why does Rabbi Yeshua hold it works talking? Says in a very beautiful word. It's very beautiful. Fushanofla shchora achas letoch shtayim. Here the Gra changes the girsa. It's essential. Shchoros. One black fell in to at least two other blacks. So midoraisa, what's going on here? Midoraisa, it's bato. Well, Rabbanan were machmir. So Rabbanan are not going to be machmir that much. They'll say you need 100, but to require 100 all black, that they wouldn't go. Okay, it's a question already. But Chumad Rabbanan, hey mamru ve'hey mamru. They said that since midoraisa there's enough to be mevatel because there are two blacks which are chulin against one black which is not. That's sufficient. Okay. Again, vushnov l'shchora achas l'toch shtayim shcheiros kidei she's bat rov nor that should be canceled in rov. Rabbi Zira boy becoming Rabbi Yamon. Rabbi Zira asked for the Raimona lo mistarbo da. It doesn't make sense this way. El b'soch shalosh. The one of Truma has to fall into three of Chulin. You need three altogether, not three altogether, but four altogether. Why is that? Because this is also a very beautiful svara. Shim toivad echos me'em. If one of them gets lost, now one of them, it's not if one of them gets lost. One of them will get lost. Because you're going to pick one up and give it to the Kohen, right? So how many are going to left with have to give one to the Kohen? 3. You're going to eat all those 3. So in those 3 are needed to be a bittul d'oraisa. In the 3 which remain, you need a bittul d'oraisa.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Chayzer v'nior. There's only going to be 2 left.
No, its status is permanently changed at that point. Closer veneer makes sense if you could identify it.
Oh, because it's not going to be. It's not. I hear what you're saying. In other words, you're saying that technically, once it's batel, it's batel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you don't know it's a tonight. What you're giving to the Kohen, you're not sure if it's really the truma. So if it is, then it goes.
No, but he's saying it's still considered batel. Because even if you originally had 3 and now you only have 2 left, but since it was part of that mixture, that's true. But it was part of a mixture. In other words, the fact that it was part of a taroivis remains, even if part of the taroivis is now in Oklahoma. It's still part of a tarovis because originally they were mixed together. So therefore, it's still bata barov. That's what he's saying. You're right. It would have to be a chumah d'Rabbana, but it's a nice chumah. It makes sense. Okay, give him credit. We have to leave. Still leave 2 there, which are chulin. Amar Leis, he said, uf ana savar. I also hold that way. Okay, says more further. Rabbi Pedaya gives another logic for Rabbi Yoshua, and the Gemara is going to have grave difficulties with Rabbi Pedaya. Rabbi Pedaya says, "Teichenu matir." You grind up. Why the white and black mevatel each other? Because you grind them all together and make them a mush. I've got the Rabbi Bedoya who the Omar in Blila Liyaim V'Shem Milvad. Then Rabbi Bedoya say that the only things which fully mix together are wine and oil because they're liquids, supposed to hear. Modi Sheni flows. Here it says it's sufficient for the bittul d'Rabbanan, which is necessary. So it says sufficient if you grind them up. So we also you have to grind them up in order to get the white to be mevatel black and the black to be mevatel the white. As is, you're talking right. They're not going to be mevatel each other. Okay. Mills.
Just think about Bedoya. I'm just curious. Could it be? Obviously, you see now here, but the logic of it would be that there can never be a bittul because bittul would only apply to liquids, not apply to solids. Is that not true?
First of all, very fine flour. We pass on the way. That's considered lach b'lach. Secondly, even yavish b'yavish is bata barov. Just that all the yavishes have to look the same. Here, not all the yavishes look the same. That's the catch. Okay?
Why does Gemara have difficulty with that?
You'll see. We'll say on the Rabbanan Pliya. The rabbis arguing about Bedoya. Tamatni, which rabbis we'll see. Tamatni, we learned over there about Meduma Potter Minachala. Now, this is going to be kind of an elaborate proof against Bar Bedoya, but it's a Rab Bedoya, but it's going to be a proof. I'm going to probably keep calling him Bar Bedoya because there's a Bar Potter and the Bavli. I don't know if it's the same one. So now, even Tamatni, we learned over there about Meduma. It says that if you truma falls into chulin, whatever the amount is, if it's less than 1 to 100, so meduma potzim min achala, meduma is exempt from challah. You don't have to get challah on it. If you take that stuff, let's say kernels of grain got mixed up, and then you make dough out of it, you don't have to take challah off the dough. Kahana shol l'truma l'shmuel, Kahana Shmuel. Meduma, it doesn't make sense to say this halacha of meduma here, which it says that meduma is exempt from challah, unless sheruba truma, unless rov is truma. But if rov is chulin, you can't say that because then the truma is bata barov. If the rov is chulin, so the truma is bata barov, and if it's bata barov, it should be chayv and challah again. What case can you talk about? You can't be talking about a case where the minority is truma. So the minority is truma, it's baton, it's chayv and challah, right? Amalei, so he said, V'ana sarvakin, I hold like you. Shmuel said to Rav Kahana, I hold like you. Elikat tesu clarity, so when you go up there, it's I'd show away. I have a little bit of historical difficulty with this, because Rav Kahana, you know how Rav Kahana went up there to Yisrael? So one Bar Mitzvah, he murdered somebody. So he had to flee to Eretz Yisrael. What? He wasn't coming back, but so he was on the run also. I don't know where he had time to schmooze with Shmuel about Meduma. That was a little bit strange. All right, in any event, maybe it's a different kind of, I don't know. And Katsolik, when he went there, so when he got there, so actually go ask him. Katsolik, when he went up there, so Shama Hadad Am Rabbi Yatsi B'Shem Yochanan, he heard that which Rabbi Yatsi named Rabbi Yochanan. Afilu saw, even one saw of Truma, Shenova Toch Tishim V'Teisha Serah Shulin, which fell into 99 measures of Chulin, it's still exempt from Challah, which is not like he and Shmuel were saying in Bavel. Rabbi Avo, and this is we're saying over how that they came to that conclusion. Rabbi Shimon Lakish is Rabbi Yochanan. This is Rabbi Shimon. Well, this Rabbi Shimon Lakish would ask Rabbi Yochanan. But also say Poteres Sakol. I understand that one saw Truma exempts the whole mixture from Challah. How could this be? Amar Lei. So he said, I'll tell you. You have to understand it based on our Mishnah. When you have one date cake of truma in other date cakes, is it clear that he gave the right one, which is truma, to the Kohen when he picked it up, and that the rest are chulin? How do we rely on that? Vatamarta, what do you have to say? Kalhu. You have to say it's a kula which we have because truma bisman hazeh is the Rabbanan. Of Hachanami Kalhu. Guess what else Bisman is the Rabbanan? Challah. So,
oh, the question is
not the Raisa. You have to have all of Eretz Yisrael. You have to have all. Well, that's because we didn't learn Masech the Challah yet. You have to have all Jews in Eretz Yisrael in order to have Challah. Yeah, I think that's what we're saying. Yeah, I'm right. Right. So therefore, here too it's kal. So now, before we go on,
the mitzvah of Challah is not shayach in Chutz La'aretz?
No, certainly only the Rabbanan. Even Eretz Yisrael Bisman is there the Rabbanan. Certainly Chutz La'aretz, sure. Sorry to burst your bubbles, guys. Yeah, that's the way it is.
The women about
they're chayiv in it, but only the Rabbanan.
In other words, I think what it
the
means
Rabbanan need the Rabbanan because it's Chutz La'aretz.
Right.
in other words, there has to be a motion.
I think they teach that to the women, to make them mitzvah. Women,
I guess that's why women don't learn Yerushalmi, to learn the truth. Even those who learn Bavli don't learn Yerushalmi. Actually, before we started, I had a woman who called me and asked me whether the tapes are going to be available. So I said, yeah, but this is Gemara. So she said, I know. But she never showed up to take the tapes. All right. In any event, says Gemara, eagle should be go again. Now this is the arguments of Rab Pedoya. Because Rab Pedoya said you got to grind it. We're not talking about grinding. There's no grinding going on here. We say didn't make any condition of grinding. And nonetheless, it's mevatel. The truma is batel in the chulin. So you see that without even grinding, it's fine. Okay? Stam because of a kula d'Rabbana. Now, v'yasivne, the truth. Now the Gemara goes back to the statement. It says the truth is Reish Lakish could have asked the kasha to Rabbi Yochanan because the shani eagle beigul and shekvar batlu. He could have said, you know why? There's a basic difference here. He should have asked that where the press date falls into the. I'm not sure I can say this well, but I have to try. Where the press date falls, where one date cake falls into other date cakes, so midaraisa the bittul here exempts from truma, right? Because there are numerous date cakes which are exempt, and one which is chayev. There are numerous date cakes which are chul, and one which is truma. So by definition, the truma is batel. So there, the bittul works to your advantage. But by the case of truma, by challah, so there, the one truma fell into numerous chulins, so the bittul d'oraisa does not work to your advantage. It works to your disadvantage. It works to make you chayev. So therefore, if Rabbanu were makel by igulim, because the bittul d'oraisa works to your advantage, and they just extended that, that's a very big leap of faith to say that by the meduma, where the bittul works to your disadvantage, right? Because if you're mevato the truma and chulin, so it is chayim and challah, then nonetheless you are exempt from taking off challah. That's a big leap. That's what the Gemara is asking. Am I clear at all?
I didn't realize we're making a leap.
Okay, let's try again. If by the Gemara say Rabbi Yochanan's logic could be questioned. Rabbi Yochanan said that because we have the K, Rabbi Yochanan said that's a kula, just like we have a kula by over here. In our Gemara, we have a kula over there by the case of challah. So the Gemara is saying, "Yasivne shani kula b'gulin shekafar botlu." By eagle b'gulin, you have one of truma, which falls into chves, let's say 30 of chulin. So what's going on here, midoraisa? The truma is falling off, right? So that's why over there I could say perhaps that there's a kula of something that the truma, when you take a truma, well, I can't. I have to take a case where it's full bittul. Sorry, let me scratch that. Let me take it over again. In a case where you have one chulin, one truma, and 100 chulin, right? One truma and 100 chulin. So there I say, take one out and give it to the kohen, and that's good and fine and dandy. So the kasha was, Rabbi Yochanan said, how can we rely on that? Maybe the one he took out was not the truma one. So Reish Lakish could say, yes, true. In that case, maybe the one I took out was not the truma one, but midoraisa, what's going on in this mixture? There is no more truma anymore. The truma is null and void and cancelled. So therefore, I can rely on this bittul. I can rely on the fact that one I took out, but it's truma, because anyway, midoraisa is nothing to worry about. But how can you say that just because we're makel over there and say give one to the kohen is mutter, that I can be makel and say where one truma fell into 60 of chulin, that it's exempt from challah? It shouldn't be exempt from challah, because there, what does the bittul do? The bittul midoraisa works against you, because what does the bittul midoraisa do? It makes it all chulin, and chulin is what's chayiv in challah. To say that this is exempt from challah is going against the tide of the bittul. Suppose the case of our case where they say you take one out and that's the truma, that's going with the tide of bittul.
I guess I didn't understand.
Do you understand and not like it?
What I didn't understand was
Mm-hmm.
that who said that Rabbi Yochanan is saying that you're putter from challah?
That's the brisa. It said it back there. I mean the Mishnah. Tamatzin and Amaduma pater min challah. And Shmuel thought that's only where rove of the mixture is challah. And along comes Rabbi Yochanan and says, no, all over the mixture is truma. And along comes Rabbi Yochanan and says, even if one of the mixtures is truma, it's all exempt from challah. That was Rabbi Yochanan's thing. That's how we interpret the Mishnah, not like Shmuel. Okay?
The two things are not analogous, though, because one is a mixture and the other are individual pieces of dates.
That may be. They're not completely analogous, but the bottom line is Rabbi Yochanan drew an analogy, and the bottom line is that it's against Rab Pedoya, because you don't have to grind them together. No grinding going on. Okay? Rabbi Yonah, Rabbi Yossi, Tarvayan, and B'Shem, Rabbi Zera, Yonah, Rabbi Yossi, both say name Rabbi Zera, Afilu chitim b'chitim, according to Rab Pedoya, even if it's grain and grain, Toichin u'matzir, you can grind it together and permit it. Now, the chiddush here is, according to the Kavanaki, and normally when you grind grain, it fluffs it. So even if you have, beforehand, you didn't have 1 in 100, but now by grinding, you'll make it 1 in 100, that's good. You're allowed to do that. Now, in general, according to Rabbi Pedoy, we see a very fundamental concept, which is normally we say, but here by Truma, since the whole thing is such a very big chumrah, so therefore the algae be mavato to go ahead and create the conditions in which bittul will take place by grinding it and so on and so forth. Okay?
You're really just increasing the volume, not necessarily increasing the mass or
the weight. It's good enough. It works. Okay? Because bittul is always by volume. Idmar, hoil vanav esrim teinim. Now, interesting case here. You had 20 dates and figs in front of you. V'nafla achas l'tochen, one truma, one fell in them, which is meduma, of course. But then of the achas man, you start off with 20, then one truma fell in. Now you have 21. You don't know which is which. Now one fig falls away. You're only left with 20, but you don't know if one of them is truma or not. So Rishim Elon Shemer is fake on Bata Barov. In that case, I say Bata Barov. Because it's a raised suffix meduma. It's not bonafide meduma. Why is it raised suffix meduma, not bonafide? Because one of them fell away. Okay? It's a big kula rich. Look, it's giving. We don't pass like it. Rabbi Yochanan Amar kula nasuach. They all need proof. But you have to prove that every one of the 20 which remains there is not truma. Otherwise, it doesn't work. What? It's going to be kavod the rice, going to be kavod the rabbanon, but even that it can't be because not a chatich royal iskabe. Kavod is only or something stationary.
Stationary?
Yeah. A stationary person, not a stationary piece of fruit. Then that's be chatich royal iskabe.
This is analogous to the situation called the Porish and Porish.
Well, a similar idea. Well, it's not cool. It's not quite though. Because here the one which is Porish, we assume is the Truma one. Yeah. So it's not from the roof.
So it's called
It's not, no, that's what he's asking, whether it's called Kavua Kamerza. But it's not because of Kavua. It's not because of Kavua. It's because of the concept of the Duma being at the Rabbanon. So therefore, as long as it's one suffix, we'll be making on it. Not because we know for sure Maybe even the odds are against the one falling out being truma, as they well are, because only 1 in 20. Nonetheless, that's sufficient for our purposes. Okay? It says more further. Rabbi Yochanan Markulun, again, Rabbi Yochanan Markulun, he doesn't buy that. Rabbi Yochanan is very interesting. Kula. Shim Torah Mehem. If you took truma from them, a Makam Acher. In other words, if you use this meduma to make truma on something else, which you're allowed to do, because part of it is truma. Oh, Shariba lo Makam Acher. If let's say it was 1 in 20, and you doubled that, you made it 1 in 40. So in that case, just fake him Baltabarov. In that case, he says that suffix is Baltabarov. Or any time you can create a suffix with an additional reason for leniency, such as you made them truma on something else, or you brought more fruit of the exact same amount, so doubled it. In that case, I say the suffix is in Baltabarov.
Is that a sveka?
It's like a sveka. Right, precisely. It's like a sveka. To have an additional amount the same is not, although it's not 100% sveka, but it's a similar idea. Okay? Amrei Shlokish b'shem Rabbi Yosher. Shlokish said name Rabbi Yosher. Is that what we're up to? A person had 150 barrels in front of him. Now, barrels, when they're closed, are not bottle, because that's called the chatich or ilaskabi, a distinguished amount, a distinguished quantity, significant quantity. So therefore, it's not bottle. However, in nispatchu, if they're opened up, then they are bottle. So what happens if 100 got opened up on their own? One of them is truma, but it's not bottle if they're all closed, because it's a davar chashuv. Significant thing, the davar chashuv, even Be'elif is not bottle, even 1,000 is not cancelled. But you had 150, and 100 were opened up. 50 are still closed. Me'am mutaros, those 100 are permissible. The 50 remain forbidden. Bashar and the rest of them, when they open up mutaros, they all are permissible. In other words, the 50 barrels which are closed are still also, because they're considered to be davar chashuv and not bottle. When you open it up, the moment they're opened up inadvertently, of course, you don't open them on purpose, then they too are mutter. Okay? It's only if it happens that they're opened up. But to go and open them up, that's a suros, because you're being mevatel, you're canceling the situation which Chazal said there is no bittul. Rabbi Zeir B'Shem Pedoya said, Truma oseres b'vadah b'meya. Truma, when it's definite truma, asers 1 in 100. Usfeika, if you only have a suffix truma, it only asers 1 in 50. So we're going to ask why. How'd you come up with that arbitrary number? Shishim low, shivim low. What, if it's 60 or 70 more than the truma, then it's okay? What do you mean by that? It's not okay. We know we need 100 to 1. Says Mar, you misunderstand. I'm going like Rabbi Yochanan before. At chamishim up to 50, tzricha you have to double it up again. Whereas if you had truma fall into 30, then if another 30 fall there, then it's okay. Like the sveik we said before. So at chamishim tzricha it's got to be doubled up. From there on up, so there's no rove, right? Because the maximum you require always is 100. So even if you had originally a ratio of 52 to 1, so you have to double up to 104 to 1, you'll have to double it up to 100 to 1. Okay? It seems you'll have to do that too. Do you have that header? Do you have Amrav Chuna? Amrav Chuna Kini Mas Nisi. This is what our Mishnah talking about. If you need to use large igulim in order to cancel those which are ketanim, then you go by weight, which is a bukula, right? Because obviously the big ones weigh far more. There might be, less in count, but they weigh more, so therefore to go by weight is a kula. And vice versa, ketanim ma'alim es hagdolim b'minyan. If you want to use the small ones to cancel the big ones, there you go by count, which is also cooler because they can be far less in count, far more in count, even though they're relatively small in terms of their volume or their weight. Okay, now do you have the next thing, Vahacha? Okay. Vahacha Rebbe Lezer Machmir Rebbe Shua Mekel is the kind of the kasha. Rabbi Lezer in one case is Machmir and Rabbi Shua is Mekel, meaning the first case in the Mishnah where the white fell into the black and vice versa. You have the next case in the Mishnah, Rabbi Shua is Machmir and Rabbi Lezer is Mekel, meaning the case where you pressed figs on top of barrels, right, and you had 100 barrels in the room. So in that case, Rabbi Shua is the one who's Machmir and Lezer is Mekel. So what do we do with the contradiction? On Rabbi Yochanan said Tanoim, it's two different Tanoim. The Reish of the Mishnah and the Seif of the Mishnah are two different Tanoim. Either truth is Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Shua themselves were consistent. Either they were Mati in both cases or Asin in both cases. But they're two different Tanoim recording what they said. I'll bring us the riot that there's Machlokas Tanoim concerning what they said. The Tani we learned, Nimtseisa Omer, you come out saying, B'yodu lo ta'aleh, if you knew it was black or white when it fell in, it doesn't, you cannot rectify the batch, right? She'eni yadu, if you don't know, ta'aleh, then you can't rectify the batch. Rabbi Lezer, that's Rabbi Lezer's machmir. Rabbi Shua Omer ben yadu ben b'she'eni yadu, whether you know or not, lo saleh, you can't do it.
And therefore, it's not like they're in possession.
Yeah, but later on it says tal again, so he threw in the low. So this is the Shita, not like our Mishnah, because here Rabbi Shua is being more machmir. Rabbi Shua is saying it works. Whether you know or not, whether it was a white one or black one, it never works. Divrei Meir. So Meir holds Rabbi Shua is the one who's more machmir. You see that here? Rabbi Shua is more machmir. Whether you know or not, whether it's a black or white one that fell in, nonetheless you can't be mitzvah black or white ones no matter what in order to be mavatzlet. So Rabbi Yoshua is more machmir. Rabbi said at least if you don't know which is which fell in, then you could be mitzvah all of them together to be matir. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, he says the opposite, like our Mishnah. Ben b'yodu ben b'she'eni, whether you know or not, lo saleh. It doesn't work. The Rabbi Lezer. It does work. Right, so according to this, Rabbi Shua is the one who's makel. Right, Kiva Omer, as we said before in the Mishnah, if you know it doesn't work, if you don't know, if you know it doesn't work, if you don't know it does work. Okay, weiter, you have Tani Licho Ketzios. Tani Licho Ketzios. Now I'll tell you about the last case in our Mishnah. You have a litter, which is a small amount of Ketzios of cut dates. Shador Salpi Eagle, which you pressed on the top of a you need 100 measures in order for it to work. Meaning within the barrel itself. If not, it doesn't work. You can't look at the barrel itself because there's no mixture within the barrel. You have to look at the sum total of all the mouths of the barrel, because those are in the suffix, since you don't know the mouth of which one you used. So if you 100 barrels, then you can work it out. If not, then you can take from the top of each barrel, but not from the bottom of each barrel. Vice versa. You take from the bottom of each barrel, but not from the top of each barrel, because the top is not bottle. There's truma there, you don't know which one it is, so it's not bottle. That's Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir says, Rabbi Eliezer, amen. Rabbi Eliezer says, if there are 100 mouths, then it's okay. And if not, the mouths are forbidden, but the insides are okay. Rabbi Yehuda says, Omer, afilu yesh sham shlosh mils pumin lo taleh. Yeshua says a new svar, not a tributive in our Mishnah. If you have 300 mouths, it doesn't work. 300 mouths, one rotten, measly shear of dates. You pressed it on top of a barrel in a room which has 300 barrels. It's not bottle. Why not? Says Mara Hado Amra Pumin also could no way, because they counted the mouths of barrels as if they were things which are always counted and sold by exact and precise count. And Dover Dark Limonos is not ever bottle. It's like Dover Choshen. So if you have 300 mouths of barrels, so the stuff in the mouth of the barrel is Dover Choshen, it's not Mevato. Okay? Hadam is Rabbi Yochanan. That's a Raya of Rabbi Yochanan. Do Amar Tanoim, who said that there's a machlokas Tanoim, because here Rabbi Yeshua comes out being machmir. So Rabbi Yeshua says, "Afi Yesham." Oh wait, Rabbi Yeshua is machmir. Rabbi Yeshua is machmir.
So in other words, you can answer back to number
what
3.
The Moshe dinner is that involved in other words?
Yochi Emo Seven, so shows there.
Well, yeah, okay, because Rabbi Yehuda previously in the Gemara had said Rabbi Yeshua is Mekel, and here it's Rabbi Meir saying Rabbi Yeshua is Machmir, and the same flip with Rabbi Eliezer. So we see also that they didn't record properly who said what, and that's why we have difficulty going back and dealing with this issue. We find that according to Rabbi Yochanan, there are two different Tanoim in our Mishnah. One of them, Rabbi Eliezer was Machmir. One of them, Rabbi Eliezer was Mekel. Now we see in the Gemara, there's precedent. There's this dispute. Who said what? Okay, that's all. Hadam said Rabbi Yochanan Damar Tanoim. It says Malus Tanoim. Hadam say, and this also this whole brayso which you just brought down is a raya. Leman Damar Rabbi Meir. Cause Varim Mekach, according to the opinion which holds according to Rabbi Meir, all things which are sometimes sold by count are so choshev that they're not bottom. Because there's a big machlokas in Shas, is it all things that are possibly sold by count, or only 7 specific substances which are mentioned in Masechta Orla and other places, such as certain type of walnuts and so on, and certain type of pomegranates, and so on and so forth. Our Mishnah clearly seems to hold that it makes no difference, right? Not our Mishnah, the Brayso, which says that even 1 in 300 is not batel. That clearly holds that the 1 in 300 is because it's 1 in 300 dates in other dates, right? So you see clearly that this is a raya to Rabbi Meir, who says that even by other substances that don't enumerated in the Mishnah Orla, you have this concept which says that it's considered to be a darba chashiv and not batel. Did I say that too wordily to make it clear? When it was made? Yeah. Downstairs. Okay. You know what that is? Okay, this teaches us that a pumpkin can also be a davar chashuv. Who thinks the pumpkin is a davar chashuv? You know, so, but nonetheless, you see that this is davar chashuv because everything is relative. That's all it's saying. Because Rameir holds even the tops of barrels are chashuv, so that's going to be chashuv. Tanya, dorsa, you press, you don't know where you pressed it. Even at Kol Tal, according to everybody, you can take it up. I'm Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi said, in other words, you don't know where you pressed it. That's not clear. I didn't make that clear. You press it, you don't know where. You have let me make it sound. There's no barrels. A huge thing of dates. You have several huge containers of dates. Not containers. Huge cakes of dates. 100 cakes of dates in a basement. And you pressed these dates of Truma somewhere onto one of the cakes. You don't know which one. So in that case, they all are mitzdarif. Everybody who agrees they're all mitzdarif. So even if you don't have 100 in that cake itself, as long as you have 100 cakes, they're all mitzdarif together. Okay? However, caveat, I'm Rabbi Yochanan, in each one of the cakes, you have to have bittul doraisa. Meaning that in each cake you have to have 2 against this one which you might have put there. So we see here that the primary bittul barov, the rice you always have to ensure, which is 2 on 1 in that self same cake. Once you have that, so for the Rabbanan of Meduma, you can be mitzaref all the cakes together to make it 100 to 1. Okay? So truma shnufla say a truma. I really want to get to Chav Daled Amud Aleph, then we'll stop. So we did. What? Yeah, not only that, he divides the Mishnah in 2, so I don't have to do the whole Mishnah. You have a measure of truma which fell on top of a large pile, and you don't know where it is exactly, but you peeled off the top layer of stuff which is in the pile. You have to look at that which you peeled off. that layer peeled off. If that has 101, it's okay. Shomer Lo Tal Rishus says it doesn't work. Why? Because why it doesn't work? Oh, because the mevatel is l'chatchila. That's right. Because hey, mevatel is l'chatchila. Here being mevatel is l'chatchila. How so? By removing the top layer, so that's being mevatel and that's forbidden. Se'ah truma, the Gemara is discussing great detail. Se'ah truma shenafel api magura. You have a soft truma which fell on top of the container, and you know where it is. You know where it is. You can so remove it. You can't, if that's the case, so where do I need truma to be vatal 1 and 101? B'sheina doing blue same. We don't know if it got mixed to b'sheina dua. We don't know where it is. In blue same, for instance, if they got mixed together, all I know if we don't know where it fell. So then you need to have then you need to say, in that case, you say that it is required to have 101. But in case we know it is, you don't need 101. You just remove it wherever it is right now. We will stop here for today. Right or not? And you take off the meiser shady from the suffix that was lo niskan. Shema and osir loin. Do you think it's not osir to no name? Of course it's osir for a no name. So if you have a suffix, whether this was taste or not, and then you take off meiser shady, that's osir lo name. But here by the mai, it's mutter lo name. By the way, in our day and age, all fruit which goes in Eretz Yisrael, generally speaking, is not the mai. It's suffix. My suffix tevel, because the mai means a case scenario where most Amoratim take off meiser, and all of them take off truma, and Chazal made a takona nonetheless to regard it as the mai and be machmer take off meiser. But in Eretz Yisrael nowadays, those people who don't take off meiser don't take off truma either, and there is no rove of people who take off meiser. So our stuff nowadays in Eretz Yisrael is suffix tevel, not the mai. Okay. So we see that suffix tevel is more severe, and that's why suffix tevel you're not allowed to eat. The meiser sheni from that is an onik. Says the Gemara. Tamotzini, we learned over there. Hatruma of Hatrumas meiser shel d'mai. That truma. I forgot what this means. Give me a second. Don't take off meiser, don't take off truma either. And there is no role for people who take off meiser. So our stuff nowadays is suffix tevel, not the meiser. Okay? So we see that suffix tevel is more severe, and that's why suffix tevel you're not allowed to eat. The meiser sheni for that is an onik. Says the Gemara. Oh, okay, got it. It says over there that if you eat trumas meiser of mai, the Mishnah is missing, so the Gemara is missing something. It says over there if you eat the trumas meiser of mai, you have to add on a fifth. The halacha is if I, a zor, eat truma, when I make restitution to the Kohen, I have to give him the principal plus an added fifth. So Gemara has a kasha. Here, if you eat truma of the mai, trumas meiser of the mai, you add on the fifth and give it to the Kohen. But here, when you redeem meiser sheni of the mai, where the Torah also said add on the fifth, it doesn't say. It says explicitly that you eat meiser sheni, when you redeem meiser sheni of the mai, you don't have to add on the fifth. So why, when a zor eats the truma from the mai, he does have to add on the fifth? And over here, with meiser sheni of the mai, which he's redeeming, he doesn't have to add on the fifth. What's the difference? So again, let's see inside Tamotzin on Hatruma Vatrumas meiser shel the mai. You have to add on the fifth. V'achat amarachini, you don't have to add on the fifth. Amray B'zer said Tamotzin on Trumas meiser shel the mai. There, it's Trumas meiser shel the mai. The Ram Mahocha meiser sheni shel the mai. But here it's meiser sheni shel the mai. It's a very cryptic answer. What exactly he means to say by this. So he does have to add on the fifth. And over here with meiser sheni, I'm not sure. I'm just going to give a hard. The Pnei Moshe doesn't make it very clear. Let me just see if what he says here. You have to add on a fifth. V'achat amarachini, you don't have to add on a fifth. Amray B'zer said Tamotzin on Trumas meiser shel d'mai. There, it's Trumas meiser shel d'mai. He doesn't. He says the Gemara is going to explain it later on. All right, we'll see what the Gemara explains. Gemara basically didn't give an answer. Rabbi Ami said that Eina Mishnah Zosyotes Yudei Trumas Meiser Shel Demai. This Mishnah, a similar idea. This Mishnah is only down Trumas Meiser Shel Demai. My Kadon, what's the distinction? Well, how do you learn it? Tamon Rabbi Meir. That's going to learn Rabbi Meir, who's more Makbid. Bramacha Rabbana, it's going to learn Rabbi Rabbana. And the Bnei Moshe and the other Mefarshim go through how Rabbi Meir is more Machmir than Rabbana. Let's not get into that now. Says Rabbi Zera Amar B'Shem Rabbanan. Rabbi Zera said a different answer in the name of the rabbis, other rabbis. B'dino Yov the Trumas Ma'aser Shel Ma'aser Le'afish Le'avis L'Chomesh. The truth is that even by Trumas Ma'aser of Ma'aser he ate it, you shouldn't have to pay the extra fifth to the Kohen. The law Ma'ar Mushiafish, why they say you give the extra fifth? Mivnei Gedera, because of offense, which we also could be Xera, decree. Shimat Oimer Lo Shalo Yafish. If you say it doesn't have to add on the fifth over there, who Afu Einanoibo B'Kedusha. He's not going to treat it as holy. No, if you tell him, oh, if you eat the Trumas Meiser of mine, you don't have to add on a fifth. So he's going to mock it. He's going to say it's not real Trumas Meiser. Einanoibo B'Kedusha. However, here the Sforah is the opposite. Here really you should add on a fifth. For why they say don't add on a fifth to redeem it? Also Negadero. Also for offense. You're going to tell him to set aside a fifth. Is going to say, you know what? It's only a D'mai. I have to pay an extra fifth. Where's the justice? Forget it. I'm not redeeming this Meiser Sheni at all. So therefore, we have to make sure he's going to take off the Trumas Meiser. How do we make sure that he's going to take off the Trumas the Meiser Sheni and redeem it? How do we know he's going to take off the Meiser Sheni and redeem it? Only if we may say you don't have to add on the fifth.
Why they say don't add on the fifth to redeem it? Also make a dero. It also for offense. You're going to tell him to set aside a
no,
fifth.
same punishment. Both make tevel. The thing is like this. Again, by Trumas Meiser, I say the reason why I made him give a chomesh if a zor eats from the Trumas Meiser of the Mai is that he should have the proper attitude towards kedusha. We're not afraid a guy's not going to take off Trumas Meiser because it's not a redeemable commodity anyway. So he figures it's for folly, right? So he's not going to pay attention to it. It's not going to. The only thing we're afraid of is on the contrary. There's not going to be knowing enough kedusha in it. However, the Meiser Sheni of the Mai, which is a redeemable commodity, there we're afraid if we make him pay too much, he's not going to redeem it. So if we say to him, you know what, only pay a fifth, and that way you don't have to redeem it, and you redeem it at face value, that's incentive for him to redeem it. But once you brought that up, it could be that's a spur as well, what you're saying. That in fact, we know why the Amaratim take off Truma of their fruits, because although they're incorrect, they're wrong. They think, the Amaratim, that Truma is more of an impediment to eating it than Meiser. Because Truma, we know if a Zor eats it, it's Chayav Pares, whereas the Meiser, if a Zor eats it, there's no Chiyah. So therefore, the Amaratim's mind, they think Truma is more essential to be tight than Meiser is. So that's why it takes the Truma, not Meiser. So it could be that's even though it's wrong. The Meiser, Tevel from which Truma is not taken off, and Tevel from which Meiser is not taken off are equally bad. But it could be you're right. That's as far here as well. Trumas Meiser, we know a guy's going to take off of the Mai because he's more afraid of Truma erroneously. But he himself is more afraid of Truma. So therefore, what's our concern over there? That he's not going to keep it holy. So therefore we say to make sure he knows it's holy, we add on a fifth. But Meiser Sheni, we're afraid he might not take off altogether. Erroneously again, because he thinks it's not as important. So therefore to make sure he takes it off, we give him an incentive, we say take it off and redeem it, and you don't have to add on a chomesh and redeem it. Very good. Okay, that fits in well. Okay, we'll stop here for tonight.
Are equally bad. But it could be you're right. That's as far here as well. Trumas Meiser, we know a guy's going to take off of the Mai because he's more afraid of Truma erroneously. But he himself is more afraid of Truma. So therefore, what's our concern over there? That he's not going to keep it holy. So therefore we say to make sure he knows it's holy, we add on a fifth. But Meiser Sheni, we're afraid he might not take off altogether. Erroneously again, because he thinks it's not as important. So therefore, to make sure he takes it off, we give him an incentive, we say take it off and redeem it, and you don't have to add on a chomesh and redeem it. Very good. Okay, that fits in well. Okay, we'll stop here for tonight.